Hi. Okay, here we go. Take two. I am Zipporah Wayne, my happy heart coach, coaching parents toward deepening connection and joy with their kids for Jewish parents, spiritually minded Jewish parents. And I'm so happy to be here with you. So it's Parsha Eikev, and I have what to share with you today. There's a lot to discuss. So I want to share with you the results of the poll. Which was how easy is it to see the good and say the good to our children each day. Hi, those of you that have joined. And less than half of the Jewish parents polled shared that thank God, Baruch Hashem, that they can see the good and say the good with ease. A couple had some disclaimers like, it kind of depends. However, more than half, so 60%, approximately 60% of Jewish parents around the world reported that it's pretty challenging to not so easy each day to see the good and say the good to their kids. So if you're feeling like, I'm a horrible parent, which you're not, by the way, just by the mere fact that you're here and showing up to learn and grow each and every day, you're in good hands. You're not alone. And also included in the not so easy that it's pretty challenging. So it depends on my state of mind. It's easy to see it, but not so easy to say it. So I'm going to go through tools with you on how to see the good and say the good. Tool number one was just say what you see. Describe it like a reporter. Tool number two I'm going to go over with you is called flip it. Okay, I'm going to read something to you for Parsha Eikev to get us into the right frame of mind. So these are my two go-tos. We're through Torah with Rabbi Pliskin. Talks about joy. And it just says that joy is one of the 48 tools for acquiring Torah. Lack of joy leads to many faults and difficulties. When in a state of joy, you have a greater appreciation for the Almighty and all that He has given you. So how do we get ourselves to a state of joy? That's a different conversation. But just the importance of joy, which I believe ties into seeing the good, because when we're not joyful, we're not connected to that state within ourselves, it's easy to teeter back into the negative, because we're wired for that anyway. And in Living Each Day from Rabbi Dr. Avraham Twersky, it talks about how, that Naomi was grieving over the deaths of her husband and her two sons. She was nevertheless able to feel the distress of her daughters-in-law and share in their grief. Although the hand of God has struck me, Naomi said, I can feel the pain of your suffering. So compassion for others is something we must maintain at all times, to strive for. Even when we think we can use all our pity for ourselves. If we're struggling and having a hard time seeing the good and saying the good due to whatever circumstances we're going through, we're striving for joy. We're striving for compassion. Here's one way to do so. Okay? Again, I call it flip it. And it's part of my coaching program for Jewish parents. If you're spiritually minded and you're Jewish and you're growing, please sign up for a connection call with me. I'd love to support you through your parenting in any way that I can. So how do we get to compassion and joy? Especially when we're struggling each and every day to see what's good and say the good, especially for our children. We're talking about parenting here. So we're not talking about toxic positivity, by the way. We're talking about accessing empowering thoughts versus disempowering thoughts. Our thoughts impact our feelings, which impact our actions. Let's start with our thoughts for a moment. So here's a story for you. It's true for me. I've shared this often. Is that I have a very loving family member years ago, who's no longer with us, who said to me once, "You're pushy." And for some unknown reason, that really struck me. It hurt, and it stayed with me for a while. I don't know why. This is someone who had a very loving relationship with, and that was the capacity that they were at. It's okay. I forgive them. However, at the time, it really, really hurt. And kal v'chomer, all the more so, think of our parents, of our children, when we say things to them, when we define them, when we label them, which is easy to do in the course of our challenging days, right? 60% of us it's not so easy over the course of a day. With whatever reason, I'm so busy, depends on my mood, depends on how I'm feeling, depends on what's happening, right? We're all human and giving ourselves grace and compassion. I actually, thank God, did some self-care for myself this week. I got a massage, by the way. I'm going to go back to the story. I got a massage, and which is one of my favorite things to do. Don't get them that often. I'm thankful that I did. I really needed it. And she said, space and grace. We have to give ourselves space and grace and others. So going back to the story of pushy. So I did some work on myself, and I realized that pushy can be flipped. And it's all in how you look at it. If I were to have compassion for myself, I could take the pushy and flip it. What else? How else could you view pushy? If you take a moment to flip the thought, what could it be? So pushy could be persistent, determined, focused. So let's take another example. So that for me, by the way, made a very big difference. I also shared, I believe it was last week, maybe not, that our daughter loves to get her hands into everything. She's very curious, and she's very involved. And at times that could be annoying. However, when I realized and I flipped it, I'm like, wait a minute, my daughter loves to be helpful. It completely shifted the way I saw her interaction. And now I'm able to view it through the lens my thought goes to, and it's more empowering for me, and it's how I can communicate to her what I see. So if I'm seeing her as helpful, it makes a complete difference in how I view it. And I'm wondering what quality, what character trait you might see in your children that just rubs you the wrong way or drives you up a wall. How would you describe it? And how can you flip it in a way that's empowering, in a way that really resonates with you? So when you see it happening, you can go, for example, my daughter's just being helpful. So if someone ever were to say to me, oh, you're so pushy, I could say, yeah, I'm pretty determined when I put my mind to something. I put all my energy into something when I want something. So it's all in how we look at it. So what do we see? How do we say it? So this is all to have compassion for our children, compassion for us, and compassion for others. So which leads to happy and joyful thoughts, which leads to happy and joyful communication and compassionate communication for ourselves and for our children. So I just wanted to leave that with you, and striving for joy and compassion. If we need to take care of ourselves and take a break for 5 minutes, say, I need 5 minutes to take some deep breaths. I need whatever we need to do to go out for a walk if we can for 5 minutes. Just whatever it is that brings you joy, making space and having grace for yourself so you can come back to your neshama. We're in the weeks headed up for Elul. It's time for teshuvah. It's thoughts of return. How can we return to our neshamas? How can we really see and say the goodness and the greatness in our children? And I hope the flip it helps you. Please email me if you would like, and please share with me what stories come up for you with your children and how you can flip it in a way that's more empowering for you and how you view your children and even for yourself. So I hope this upgrades your parenting. I hope this is helpful to you. Please let me know. I would love to connect with you. I offer free 20-minute complimentary. I also have a program coming up after the Chagim, after the Jewish holidays are complete. I'll be starting a full deep dive into how you can be the best parent you can be, how you can feel confident and capable in connecting and deepening joy and connection with your kids. So I am here for you. You're not alone. And here is to growing and sharing your happy heart. I wish you a beautiful Shabbos, Shabbat Shalom, and thank you for joining me. Take care.